Everything starts with the mind. Your body always gives up before the mind. By tapping into more of your mind, then you're able to just simply access more, right? Now you can engineer that state so that you're just in it way more often. You feel completely deserving of it. But the coolest thing is that you achieve that by unlocking your own potential.
Why aren't more people aware of the power of hypnosis and that they can hypnotize themselves out of all of their problems?
A lot of people don't even know it can be used for success. People don't think about it in terms of making more money. That's more what I specialize in. 3, 2, 1, eyes open. The only thing stopping you from shifting fast is just your limiting belief. So it'll either be like, I'm scared of failing, or I don't believe I'm good enough, or someone's better than me, or whatever. All of those thoughts are programmed in you from somewhere else anyway. All of that shit isn't real, it's an illusion. That's the only reason why you're not where you want to be.
That's crazy.
Now eyes open, wide awake.
Confidence is a byproduct of competence. Hypnosis, it's kind of broken that law in half, and you don't actually need to have the proven competence to be willing to take action.
A client I worked with recently just wanted to give up coffee because he was addicted to caffeine. So what I basically did was, in hypnosis, I made him pick up a coffee cup and basically program his mind to believe that that coffee cup was raw, rotting chicken breast.
Oh man.
3, 2, 1, eyes open, it's giving you pleasure, it's giving you some kind of dopamine. So if you change that relationship, then you won't want to do it anymore. If my thoughts literally create my reality, then I need to start by changing my thoughts. And that's actually the biggest thing for a lot of people. Most people don't realize they're focused on what they don't want instead of what they do want.
What's, I guess, the biggest impact hypnosis had on your life?
Having 100% confidence that I can do anything that I choose to put my mind to. You've seen the film Limitless, when they take the Limitless pill, it actually feels like that because I know that whatever I want to do and achieve, I can literally become that person immediately and go and do it.
So like, it feels insanely easy. Like, I've never felt like this before. It's crazy.
Welcome back to the Gold-Blooded Pod, guys, where we show you that everything that you need to succeed is already inside of you. We're joined today with Ebrahim Turner, 7-figure hypnotist who's worked with the biggest people in the space, Jack Hopkins, Hamza, William Brown, and the list goes on. And he helps entrepreneurs who are limited to using 1% of their minds, as most of us do, unlock 100% of their minds. So they can unlock their dream potential, their dream character, their dream business, and their dream life. Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure, man.
Can anybody be hypnotized?
100% of people can be hypnotized because people are getting hypnotized every single day. That's the number one thing people don't realize. So every single time you wake up and go back to sleep, you're going into hypnosis. When you're 0 to 8 years old, you're in a brainwave state called theta, which is hypnosis. So the reason why when you're 0 to 8 years old, you can learn like a supercomputer, you can pick up 10 languages, you can learn any skill, you can just grow really quickly, is because you are in the state of hypnosis. That's the best state for learning. So all I do is just help people get back into that state, which is the most natural state in the world, so they can change rapidly. That's it.
So hypnosis is a natural thing.
We're all in hypnosis all the time. It's like, have you ever been driving your car and then somehow you just end up home and you're like, how the heck did I even get
all
here?
The time.
Yeah, that's hypnosis, right? You're going into the subconscious mind and you're going on autopilot.
Right. So for the people who don't know, kind of break down the different states different brainwave states that our brains can live within.
Yeah, so right now we're in what's called beta, which is basically just like an alert state so we can communicate with each other. Hypnosis, aka trance or aka theta, is just like a brainwave state below that. So you're still conscious, you're still awake, you know what's going on, but you're in a much more relaxed state. When you go into sleep, then you're more in like, that's when you go into REM, and that's when you go into like delta and like deeper states like that. But these are like the main ones you want to be conscious of essentially.
Is there any kind of relationship between people who have an attention deficit and being in a certain brain state? Because what I've heard is that people who have, for example, ADHD, whereas the average person will spend most of their time in beta, focusing, on repetitive tasks and problem solving, people with ADHD apparently struggle to get from delta or gamma into beta a lot of the time. And so they're in this brave wave frequency where they're pulling a lot of abstract thoughts and focusing on a lot of things and they can't really dial in. Is there a truth to that?
There is some truth to that. A lot of my clients are actually like that because a lot of them are like info guys, creative guys who would say like, oh, they have these ADHD tendencies, but they're actually the best, funnily enough, they're the best guys to be hypnotized because they're way more suggestible to new information and they're way more likely to actually go and like do big things, try shit. Whereas like people who are just in like behind a computer typing all day, they're much more in logical mind, which inhibits their ability to just do things like think really big or have massive confidence or go and take big risks. So actually, if you find that you are the type of person who has that ADHD mentality, it's actually great. It's actually the best thing if you channel it correctly. So it's actually a good thing.
Okay, so logical brain versus creative brain, which entrepreneur wins?
It's such a fucking good. I would personally say creative if they know how to channel it, because I think that's how you actually innovate new things, right? And then if you're actually innovating new things, like the iPhone was created by Steve Jobs on LSD and shrooms, right? That's creative at the end of the day. So I personally am like more on that side.
Yeah.
I respect like the logical guys as well, because I'm like a little less like that, so I respect it. But I personally think like creative is where new things happen.
Yeah, and you need for sure both in your business, right?
100%.
Which is why it's always so important when you find a business partner that you're not finding a second creative if you're a creative or a second logical brain if you're a logical brain.
Yeah.
The creative brain is interesting because, like you said, it can be your greatest advantage as an entrepreneur, and you can't have a leg up on anyone else. But if you don't learn how to master your mind and take control and learn how to put yourself in the right brainwave or environment, it can end up being your worst enemy and leading to a lot of your shortcomings. So how can entrepreneurs leverage this knowledge about brainwave states and put themselves in the best position to win?
You've got to realize that you're always able to hypnotize yourself. So for example, I'll give you a quick backstory. Guys like Andrew Tate use a hypnotist, have a hypnotist, also self-hypnotize. And I'll explain how to do that in a second. Guys like Mike Tyson have used a hypnotist to be the best boxers in the world. Ironically, Jake Paul, the guy we were talking about earlier, hypnotized Jake Paul to then knock out Mike Tyson, funnily enough, guys like Tiger Woods. So a lot of the top people actually use hypnotists. You've got to ask why they're using them in the first place. It's just to get a psychological edge, right? Because everything starts with the mind. Even if it's just doing extra weights in the gym, right? Your body always gives up before the mind. So by tapping into more of your mind, then you're able to just simply do more, access more, right? So the hypnosis is simply just programming your mind for what you do want instead of being unconsciously programmed for what you don't want. So the easiest thing to do is actually first stop programming yourself for the shit that you don't want. Most people aren't even aware that they're doing this though. So simple things, right? If you're around the wrong types of people and they're like, oh, like you can't do that. I do not tolerate anybody like that in my life who doesn't have full belief and conviction in what they're doing and what I'm doing. Because otherwise they're just gonna be programming you the opposite way around. So that's one. Social media, big one. Like if you're using it, curate it so it's only things that are literally pulling you in the right direction. Shit like news, obviously I'm sure your audience probably don't even do any of that shit. So it's like obvious stuff like that. All of that is programming you though. It's going into your subconscious mind, which is the 99%. Most people just focus on like a mindset tactic or just trying to think a new way, which is good. But the problem is that's only 1% of your mind. So what you want to do through something like hypnosis is to start tapping into that subconscious mind, which is the 99%. So it just starts working for you. It's like if you've ever been in a state of flow, or you've ever just been in a state where like things are just happening or money's just coming to you and you don't feel like you've been working that hard and it's just all coming, that's when you're in that state. Now you can engineer that state so that you're just in it way more often.
How can someone curate their social media to be an advantage instead of a detriment in their business?
Yeah, so you want to become proactive instead of reactive with it. So for example, if I open up my Instagram to you, well, my phone, for example, there's first of all like almost no apps that you can see. Everything's hidden. You can go press delete and then you can actually remove the app from your home screen, right? Then you can turn off all notifications, so you're not getting a freaking beep every time somebody posts something. Then what you can do and what I do is every single person I have on Instagram, I mute. So both the stories and the actual feeds so that it's not all showing up constantly. So if I want to go on Instagram, I'm choosing what I click on, not Instagram choosing what I click on.
Did you say you mute everyone?
Mute everyone automatically, even my girlfriend. Like every single person on there is muted because I don't want somebody to be able to control my mind by me giving them my attention, because the attention is the most valuable asset.
Social media, do you use any tools? Like for example, I use Opal on my phone. So that I can't access social media during work hours, right? Yeah. Do you use any kind of tools or like any cheat codes like that to kind of curate your attention?
I actually don't use any apps. I don't use Opal or any of that. And I actually disagree with it. The reason why is because you're essentially saying like you don't have control over your own will when you use those apps, right? So it's basically telling you like, no, you can't do it. But what happens is when you're told you can't do it, you want to do it more. So it's reinforcing the bad behavior. So for me, it's either like just cut it out or change your relationship with it. So for example, I just did a session today with a guy. He wants to get to 250K a month. He's been stuck at 100K a month for a while. One of the really basic things was for him is that he kept scrolling on Reels. Right? And so we could say like a bunch of things like what you should do or install some app or some shit, but for me it's just get straight to the root cause of why you're using that as a distraction tool in the first place. changing that whole association to it to be negative instead of positive. Because then you're either moving away, you either want to move away from pain or towards pleasure, right? So it's like if you're using social media, it's because it's giving you pleasure, it's giving you some kind of dopamine. So if you change that relationship, then you won't want to do it anymore. So I'll help people like quit social media or quit smoking, or they've been smoking for 45 years and they quit within 10 minutes, or they've another guy had a nicotine addiction the other day, quit within a few minutes, and it's just by changing the association. So social media is the same thing.
I love that. So our entire philosophy around social media and building a personal brand is building it around psychology. And so understanding the three different parts of the brain that thought process and decision making goes through, which starts the basal ganglia, which is the reptilian brain. And the first thing it's asking there, is there a threat of pain or an opportunity of pleasure? Yep. So give me an example of how you might take something that gives someone pleasure and instead convert that to a trigger for pain.
Yeah, so a client I worked with recently just wanted to give up coffee because he was addicted to caffeine. So what I basically did was, in hypnosis, I made him pick up a coffee cup and basically program his mind to believe that that coffee cup was raw, rotting chicken breast. So he would pick that up, and it was literally like when and I can show you a video, you can put it up and you'll see his reaction to it. Like he literally is tasting that in his mouth, he's smelling that, and I even made his mind think that there was like spiders laying eggs on it and like all this like disgusting shit. Yeah, because it's just an association, right? It basically creates more pain around it than pleasure. So you can do that with everything. So you're never actually afraid of anything. For example, like take skydiving. We're doing skydiving in a few days. I have a fear of it, which is why I'm doing it. But what I'm going to do before, and I'm going to do this purely for content, is reprogram my mind. So it's not actually falling or anything that you're afraid of or want to move away from. It's the idea of it. So it's actually the idea of falling and dying. Is that what you're actually scared of, right? But that's irrational because that's not actually going to happen. So by simply, and we can even do one if you want to experience it. Like,
for sure.
You literally just change your association with it. You change the thoughts, you change the emotion, and your relationship has changed.
Yeah, it's interesting because the brain can't tell the difference between reality and your imagination, right?
Exactly.
So if you're in the woods and you're running away from a bear, you're obviously running away from that bear because you think it has the ability to kill you. But if you start running, if you're in the woods and you're going for a jog and you start running from a bear, but it's not actually a bear, it's just a big black dog, and you turn around and you look quickly at it and you don't realize that it's a big black dog, but it's just actually a bear, your brain's still gonna give you the same kind of pain and same kind of instinct to run, even if it's just a dog that has no capability of harming you, right? So in reality, it's never actually the external stimuli that's causing us pain, it's internal, right?
100% of the time.
Yeah, okay, super fascinating. How did you get into hypnosis?
So I've always been obsessed with the mind for the last 10 years because I realized that was the one factor that separated somebody who takes an online course, watches YouTube videos, and actually goes and makes a lot of money and is successful and isn't. It just always comes back to the mind, beliefs, identity, and all these kind of things. So I always just nerded out about studying that kind of stuff. And then for me, I just realized, like, through doing this on myself, I realized, wait a second, I can choose my state, I can choose my identity, because I wasn't like this. Go back a few years, I couldn't even go to a shop and ask for something because I was so nervous, right? So I realized, like, if I can change me first, then I can get to whatever I want. What I realized also is by hanging around with a lot of people who are successful externally, so they've got money, and this is what happened to me, dude. Like, I made a bunch of money early on, like, I wanted to move into this dream penthouse, moved into this penthouse in London, got a girlfriend, partied a lot, and like, that was my idea of success. But internally, I was still not confident, I was still, shy, I still had all these problems, right? So I realized, like, you can do as much external shit as you want, it doesn't change what you want on the internal. In fact, it actually makes it worse, because then you can't say, I'll be happy once I get to that point of external success, right? So that was essentially why I got into it, just from trying to fix it for myself. And then quite quickly, when people saw the change in me, they naturally started asking me for it. And I basically realized, like, hypnosis is just a piece of the puzzle. It's a tool to just have change really fast. That's the only reason I do it. It's just because it creates change really fast.
Okay, something happened to me recently, and I want you to dissect and kind of explain to me why this change has happened. For a long time, I was trying to pick up habits that I thought would make me I was trying to pick up 7-figure habits to become a 7-figure person, right? And so I was trying to get a skincare routine. I was trying to go to sleep on time. I was trying to follow a diet. And every single time I would try to do one of these things, I would fail. There was too much pain associated with maintaining these actions consistently. Recently, there was a change, right? We had 7 figures last year, and there's some sort of internal identity shift which has happened, where without me trying now, I don't consciously try to pick up habits, but I actually am now in pain if I don't do things. And so, for example, my brain is now forcing me to without trying, autonomously pick up a skincare routine, following a diet now without struggling. I'm going to sleep all the time. And it's when I stopped trying to do those things, now it's working. But it also happened when I, instead of tried to pick up 7-figure habits to become a 7-figure person, once I became a 7-figure person, it became impossible not to pick up the 7-figure habits.
Yep.
Explain to me why that is.
Just one quick question. Did you start changing those habits once you hit the 7 figures or before you hit the 7 figures? Like the skincare and all that other stuff?
I tried them before and I failed.
Uh-huh.
And then I randomly picked them up without even thinking about it after I passed and succeeded.
After you hit 7 figures?
Yes,
so it
after.
wasn't random. It's because you said to yourself unconsciously, when I hit 7 figures, that is enough proof and evidence that I will then see myself and my identity as a 7-figure person, right? That's why it happened now, because now you literally are that. Like, how confident are you on a scale of 1 to 10 that you can make 7 figures?
Now a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, because you're making 7 figures, right? So that's the only thing that changed, is you became more confident and you actually became that person, right? So the only difference is for somebody who wants to reverse engineer that is you can actually become that person first. And that's actually what I help people do, right? It's literally having the enough certainty and confidence that you actually see, feel, and experience the version of yourself that you want to experience to then get there faster. Most people do it the way you've done it, where it's like, okay, reality changes, you get to the goal, and then you get the confidence. Like, every guy wants to make loads of money so they can get a hot girl, basically, right? And it's like, but why are there artists who make no money who get girls? Or why does some like random dude on the street get girls, right? Because they have that confidence and because they're actually that guy, even though they don't have the external thing. So the reason it happened for you is because you literally just had a belief shift in your mind that you are this person. So you saw yourself in this way, and then you just act in accordance with it.
It's crazy. It's actually crazy how your aura determines your revenue.
100%.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah, that's wild. For the average person who wants to flip this process on its head, instead of becoming a 7-figure person to pick up 7-figure habits, how can you immediately implement the 7-figure habits and force yourself to become a 7-figure person? What's the short answer to that?
The key is you actually have to change your state to where you believe it. So the key is belief. Why does religion work? Why do people believe in a religion? Well, because enough people believe in Jesus. Why do we transact through dollars? Well, because we both believe $1 is worth $1. If hyperinflation happens, we don't believe it's worth $1 anymore, and then it's worthless, right? So everything is determined from belief. The only thing stopping you from shifting fast is just your limiting belief. So it'll either be like, I'm scared of failing, or I don't believe I'm good enough, or someone's better than me, or whatever, which is actually just some limiting belief, which actually isn't even yours, because as we described earlier, all of those thoughts are programmed in you from somewhere else anyway. So it's just realizing that all of that shit isn't real, it's an illusion. And so if everything's an illusion anyway, you may as well create the illusion or the delusion that you're that person. The only reason you wouldn't say you're the best in the world at what you do, or you are a 7-figure entrepreneur or an 8-figure entrepreneur, is because you're scared of failing, and not just failing, other people's judgment of you failing, if you were to say that. That's the only reason why you're not where you want to be. If you think about it, that's so stupid. Why would you let just that stop you from actually getting to where you want to get to, right? So by actually believing it, actually then living that way, then taking actions and actually doing the work, it will happen 10 times faster. And that's the only difference. That's why we love guys like Conor McGregor, for example, on the come up. Why does everyone love him? Confidence, he said what he was going to do, even when his reality of being a UFC star was non-existent, he went and did it. Everyone loved him because of that. That's what makes legends. That's what separates people, right? From just being like a good entrepreneur to someone who's actually great.
Who were the people that you said, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, big people who use a hypnotist?
Yeah. So most of the biggest guys in the space use a hypnotist. So Mike Tyson used one back in the day. Jake Paul, ironically, then used a hypnotist to knock out Mike Tyson. Tiger Woods, Andrew Tate uses a hypnotist. I actually coach one of his guys who are in the War Room, so I know that they use a hypnotist, and Andrew Tate uses one himself. So all of these main guys actually use them. They just don't say about it because it's a little bit taboo.
So getting everything you ever wanted put you into such a deep depression you almost lost your business and everything else.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
So there was one day this was during COVID, I flew my ex-girlfriend now and myself out to Greece to try and escape the UK lockdown. Ironically, on the plane, Greece went into an even worse lockdown. We didn't know that. We arrive at the Airbnb. We're sitting on the top floor of the Airbnb, having a glass of wine, looking at the sunset. Money's good, business is good, but internally, I'm just completely fearful of losing it all. And I've literally got depression because I feel so bad on the inside, even though externally everything's doing good. So in my mind, all I'm thinking about is like, I'm going to lose this all. I'm going to lose this all. I've got anxiety. The day before, I literally have the barber tell me my hair's falling out. I literally have bald patches on the back of my head. I can send you photos. Like, it's grown back now because I've changed, but I had them at the time. And literally the next day, when I woke up, I open up my laptop and I just see email after email, client cancellation, client cancellation, client cancellation. And I lost half of my business in 24 hours. And what I learned from that is your mind doesn't just create what you do want, it also creates what you don't want. So we're not just manifesting what we want, we're manifesting what we don't want. And so that was what got me obsessed with learning how the mind works.
Talk to me about the emotional aspect. Like, how did it feel looking at your phone and seeing that you had lost $500,000 in 24 hours?
Yeah, it was, here's the actual interesting thing, right? So you would think I felt fucking terrible and it was the worst day of my life. Bro, I actually laughed. I was laughing hysterically like a crazy madman for that whole day because the suffering and pain in my mind of that thing happening was actually worse than the reality of it happening. So it was actually a fucking relief because I could finally stop suffering and worrying about it happening.
What switched in your brain?
So I've realized that you don't just create what you want, you create what you don't want. So I realized that if all I was thinking about was the fear of losing that, I was just thinking those thoughts. So I actually finally took a step back. I got out of this suffering cycle and I realized like, okay, well, if my thoughts literally create my reality, then I need to start by changing my thoughts. So that was the first part. I just started by actually analyzing what I'm thinking, writing it down, journaling on it, reflecting on it. And I realized like, oh, most of this shit's actually negative. It's mostly fear. It's what I don't want to happen. So the first switch was just focusing on, okay, well, what do I want to happen? And that's actually the biggest thing for a lot of people. Most people don't realize they're focused on what they don't want instead of what they do want.
So when you realize that the majority of your mental real estate is negative thoughts, how do you start changing that? Are you restructuring that into positive thoughts? Are you ignoring it? What are you doing?
First of all, just start by getting it all out of you, right? Because the problem most people have is they just try and do like positive thinking and shit. And it's like, you know, that's not real. So you first of all just have to acknowledge it, get it outside of you, physically write it down. And it's just like, it's like getting a memory, what do you guys use in fucking film? Like a power, not what are they called? Memory card thing. It's like putting all your like RAM onto like an external hard drive, right? So you just move it out of your mind. That then creates the focus to start saying what you do want.
What's the most negative thought you've ever had in your mind?
So there was a day when I was in my fancy penthouse in London. I was sitting in my nice Herman Miller chair. I was actually about to just talk to Iman Gadzhi, actually, funnily enough, because I was interviewed as one of the most successful people in his course, because that's how I came up in early days, right? And I was just about to get on this podcast with Iman, and I thought like he was the shit back then. And I was like a little fanboy. But inside, I literally had this sort of like, if I wasn't here tomorrow, would anyone care? And the honest answer was no. Because I was just living my life so selfishly. I was only thinking about myself and my own needs. And that honestly still puts chills on my arms today. Because I was living a life just based on myself. I was being completely selfish.
If I wasn't here tomorrow, would anyone care? That's such a powerful guiding principle.
Yeah. It genuinely, that like moment changed my life.
Wow. Right now we're sitting in a $20 million villa in Cape Town, South Africa. And, you know, it's beautiful, and you post these stories on your Instagram and you have, you know, infinity pools and stuff in the background and whatnot. But then you ask yourself, like, even that question, like, if I wasn't here tomorrow, would anybody care?
Yeah.
So how does that help you realign what's important in life?
It just as cheesy as it sounds, it made me realize the secret to living is giving. So it's, if you're not actually doing something that actually helps other people or benefits other people, or you just have some wider cause, whether it's your business, whether it's family, whether it's friends or doing something, your life will always be meaningless because it's just trying to fill a bottomless pit of pleasure, which never works. And you can go as far as you can become Dan Bilzerian to figure that out if you want to. But the shortcut is just start actually like living your life for other people.
What are some of the darkest mental places your clients have been in, and where were they able to get to from there?
Yeah, man. Obviously, I won't say names, but you'd be surprised. I think for a lot of the guys I work with, they're actually already like successful by most standards, and they actually feel so guilty and terrible about the fact that they don't actually appreciate any of it. So they actually feel like, I have all of this stuff, but I still feel like a failure. I still feel like I'm not enough. And so I'll have guys all the time who are just like, who are like literally like depressed or having like extreme anxiety and stuff like that. And it's just because they're in their head about it.
Are most entrepreneurs depressed, and why?
Yeah, I would actually say yes, because when you're a high performer, what happens is put high expectations on yourself, right? And so if you don't meet those expectations of hitting a certain amount of money or being in certain shape or just performing at a certain level, you'll naturally just will feel depressed because you haven't hit that. So that's why they are. And the way I reframe that and change it is just to change expectations to standards. Because if you only expect things and then if reality doesn't meet that expectation, you're going to be unhappy, right? So you could say, okay, on one level, just remove those expectations, which does work, but then you might say, well, but I still want to go really far in life. So the key to that is to have really high standards. So a standard is just something you set for yourself that you do not drop behind. And if you do, it's like everything just feels off. It's like now with your gym routine and all the standards that you have, skin and all this stuff, if you didn't do it for a couple of days, it would just feel wrong, right? You're not going to be like depressed or upset about it, but you just know internally it's like something's wrong, I need to get back on. That's a standard that you've installed in yourself. So that's really the key with it. And then it's fine to be self-critical. Be self-critical, have really high standards, but don't like get down on yourself because that just doesn't help. Then it's just negative, right? It doesn't do anything.
Do you feel like most entrepreneurs are actually chasing the money or are they chasing something else?
No, no one cares about money. You literally don't care about money. I could say, here's $1 billion in your bank account right now, imagine it, but you now have to live on an island by yourself and you can't ever interact with anyone. You wouldn't want that, right? So what are you actually chasing? It's feelings. You want the feeling of love, you want the feeling of freedom, you want the feeling of joy, that's what you actually want. And you just believe that money will give you more of that. And so that's why you chase money.
Man, that's crazy because it's such a perspective shift. So many people think that entrepreneurs are shallow, people who are just chasing money all the time and they don't care about anything except for revenue and money and buying Lamborghinis. And in reality, in many ways, it couldn't be further from the truth. Instead of being these, Machiavellian, self-centered people who just don't feel emotion and all they want to do is chase these surface level things, the way you're explaining it, entrepreneurs are actually the people who feel emotion the most, 100%. Oftentimes. And they're just under the impression that the way that they can channel and experience all the feelings they want to in life is through money.
Yeah.
Is that the wrong thing to do?
I think money's just a tool, right? So I don't think money's good or bad. I think if you're a good person with good intentions, having more money is only going to be a good thing because you're going to amplify that. If you have negative intentions, then it's just going to amplify more of that. So money's just neutral. I think you should have more money because it does make your life better, right? It solves all the money problems in life, and let's be honest, right? It makes your life significantly better and you can do more good of that. But I have also worked with people who just chase money because they want to hit that next figure amount or hit that exit for the validation by everybody else to say like they did that. That's when it can become a bit of a slippery slope, and it will oftentimes, that's when you will be the most unhappiest. For example, like William Brown won't mind me sharing this. Like, he's somebody I've worked with, exited a 8-figure course company to private equity. So he's like one of the only people I think who's ever sold like a course business. He sold it, and that period was the worst period of his life mentally because he hated what he was doing. He was just doing it for that exit. Now he lives a completely different life, makes $500,000 a month profit, and is just chilling. He's the happiest he's ever been because he's doing it for him, not for the validation.
You worked with William Brown, has a great book I read, How to 10 Million. And a huge component of his success, becoming an 8-figure entrepreneur and being one of the only people to ever exit an info product business, was mindset. And you personally worked with him on developing his 100% mindset, as you talk about. What were the key components of his mindset engineering and the hypnosis you did with him in order to help him become the highest version of himself?
It was literally with him, it was just unlocking how much money he actually wants to make. Because a lot of people say a certain revenue mark purely for ego. And this is why people struggle with making more money, is because they set a benchmark for money, but they don't actually want to make that amount of money. So with Will, like, he's just super clear now of how much he actually wants to make, which is literally, he said with me 2 weeks ago, I want to hit 500K a month. Yesterday, he just posted he hit 580K in that month, 500K profit. So he exactly hit the revenue goal. The second thing for him was wanting to basically stop drinking alcohol to get into really good shape because he wants to get a six-pack. That's basically his goal. So I just made him hate the taste of alcohol. And he just voice noted me literally yesterday saying, bro, I drank for the first time and I literally got a hangover for the first time in 10 years. And this is the first time I've ever not wanted to drink. So he was like, you ruined me because now I don't like alcohol, but it's now helped me to get towards my goal.
You can hypnotize people to stop drinking, to stop smoking, to make more money. What can't you hypnotize someone to do?
The honest answer is not a lot, to be honest, because we're always like, we don't even realize how much hypnosis we're in. But if someone like The honest answer is not a lot.
Can you hypnotize someone to be in love with you?
Yeah.
You can.
Because it's just an emotion, right?
Explain that.
So love is an emotion that you feel in your body, right? So it's just a sensation ultimately, right? And we connect sensations to things. So for example, like when you are in love with a girl, you think you're in love with that girl, but you're actually not. What you're actually experiencing is yourself producing love as a reaction to that girl being there. It's not actually her, it's just she's stimulating that love. So through hypnosis, you can just do the same thing.
Can you hypnotize someone to get over a heartbreak?
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that a bunch of times with guys.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Crazy.
just changing the association, right? So it's just whatever you focus on is what you feel. So if you're focused on what you've lost and you're focused on how painful that heartbreak was for you, that's what you're going to experience. But if you change that focus and then put it somewhere else, you literally will not experience that anymore and you'll experience something positive.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, how did you scale a hypnosis offer, a mindset offer, something that a lot of entrepreneurs, even if they know deep down that mindset is everything,
Yeah.
struggle to put a tangible value on and often aren't willing to pay high ticket for? How did you manage to sell high ticket hypnosis?
It's just confidence and conviction, right? So like, for example, whoever has the most certainty in a situation will win the deal, will win the negotiation, for example. So with me, it's like, I know what the result is going to be because I've done it for myself and so many clients. So whenever a client comes to work with me, what they're really looking for is certainty and confidence. Like I just had a client sign up with me yesterday and he was like, bro, I literally am buying your confidence right now. And I'm like, sure, if you want to believe that, what's really happening is you are becoming more confident. So it's actually the easiest thing to sell. You'd actually be surprised. Like I come from like online marketing and selling that as a service. My close rate is like almost 100% because only people who like actually resonate with this want to sign up to it. It's very, very easy to sell. And the way I scale it is I just work with, I'm one of the best at what I do. So I only work with people who are the best in their fields as well, want to be the best. So naturally they're more qualified financially. So to them, it's like if a client is making 30 million a year, what is, spending under 100K on this to get to 60 million a year? It's literally a no-brainer.
Right.
Yeah.
So if a guy's unconfident, he can just hypnotize himself into being more confident.
100%. Yeah.
Why aren't more people aware of the power of hypnosis and that they can hypnotize themselves out of all of their problems?
It's just because it's taboo, right? So when you think hypnosis, you think like some guy on a stage making you quack like a chicken, or it has like that like cheesy magic kind of thing to it. That's the way it's been framed. So people just simply don't know about it. A lot of people don't even know it can be used for success. People see it for like quitting smoking or something like that, which sure is amazing and that's really cool, but people don't think about it in terms of making more money. That's more what I specialize in. So it's just like, it literally is just education and people not knowing about it.
Can you hypnotize someone on a sales call?
Yeah, I do that. Every sales call I'll do a hypnotize, like obviously with their permission, but I will hypnotize them on the call, yeah.
So you ask consent to hypnotize
Oh, of
people?
course, yeah. Like a lot of this stuff is like you can use it for good and for bad. So I also only take on clients who have the right intentions as well, because obviously like you can misuse it. But yeah, I'll do it on every single call. And the reason why the close rate is so high is because they experience it for themselves. And then they're like, okay, I know this is real now because I've experienced it. With hypnosis, it's like seeing is believing. So like once you see it or experience it, then that's when your belief shifts. And so I just always do that.
What is the darkest thing hypnosis has helped you through? Or what's, I guess, the biggest impact hypnosis had on your life?
Honestly, I would just say having 100% confidence that I can do anything that I choose to put my mind to. Like genuinely, like it is like taking, you've seen the film Limitless, when they take the Limitless pill, it actually feels like that because I know that whatever I want to do and achieve, I can literally become that person immediately and go and do it. So it's just, you just feel superhuman, man.
It's interesting. Hypnosis is almost like breaking the laws of physics because generally confidence is a byproduct of competence.
Yep.
What confidence means is we believe if we do a certain action with a high degree of probability, we'll get a specific result. So we know we have an 80% confidence that if we hit a golf ball, it's going to end up on the green. If we go approach a girl, she's going to be receptive to talking to us. The idea of hypnosis is it's kind of broken that law in half, and you don't actually need to have the proven competence in an ability to be willing to take action.
Exactly.
Right?
It just removes the fear. Because the only thing stopping you from doing those things is fear. Because if someone, for example, right, if you were like, if I go to you, you can have Elon Musk's mindset, what do you think you could do with Elon Musk's mindset?
Anything.
Right? But you haven't got his company, I only said his mindset. So all that changed was your confidence and belief. So that's what hypnosis does.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Ebrahim. Where can people find you if they want to get your help?
Just Instagram, Ebrahim Turner.
Amazing. Appreciate you, man.
Pleasure, bro.